G'day all, welcome back to the channel. We're back on the internet together again. We're on TikTok. We're going to be taking a look at Australian rental crisis. Rental availability and rental cost. Let's jump into it. Look at that. Let's play it again so you can see that. Why would you bother? Why would you bother? If you're walking up this block of units and you saw, well, they said 92 people, a line of people that long, I would walk to the end of that line and I would say, see you later, turn around, walk off. All right, let's keep going.
So we have to move out in 3 weeks and we have nowhere to move out to. So today we went to 7 inspections and you were coming along. Starting off strong, we inspected a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment. It had really nice lighting and the bedrooms were decently sized. It was also in a pretty good location, and because of those reasons, this place was approved. Now the next place we rushed to had about 50 people waiting there. After about 10 minutes of waiting, we finally made it in. This was an immediate no from us just because one of the bedrooms was definitely a study. It's so deceiving online when they say it's 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom.
Not a fan of these joints. Look at that. Look at the size of that bedroom. Maybe a cat can sleep in there, a little puppy dog in its little bed. Not a fan of these apartment developments, you know, when they've got, 10 stories and 600 apartments in them, dog boxes.
Bathroom, but they don't provide a floor plan, so you can't actually see. Anyways, I ran the fastest I think I've ever ran to the next inspection. This was a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house, also in a good location. Compared to the other apartments, this house was definitely a lot more spacious, and it was definitely approved by us. So right now we live in Fitzroy, and although we would love to stay there, it's just so expensive and we just can't find a nice place. So we are exploring other suburbs. This was another one that was so deceiving online, but when we got there, it was just too dark, a little bit creepy, so it was a no from us. Moving on to number 5, this was...
That's the thing too with the natural light. What I've noticed in just about all these apartments that she's shown, where's natural light coming in? It's not really good for the old mental health, being stuck in a dimly lit apartment.
Definitely a lot more spacious and a lot more bright, but we did not love the location and it was no from us. Okay, a few more inspections, guys, hang in there. Our 6th inspection was a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment. It was in a really good location, but once again, one of the bedrooms was tiny. So no, immediate no.
How's it a bedroom? Let's go back, hang on.
No, apartment. It was in a really good location, but once again,
that's the bedroom. How do you call that a bedroom? A little kitten, that can be a little kitten's bedroom. You know, that's why I hate these dog boxes.
Bedrooms was tiny. So no, immediate no. We then hopped in a random lady's car, stranger danger, but you know what, we were desperate at this point. And this was our last inspection. This was a really cute house, but one of the bedrooms unfortunately just got no natural light at all. So yeah, wish us luck, and if you have a spare bedroom, let me know. So we...
well done, girls. You can enjoy your wine and a few durries. All right.
So I've literally had to put a filter on. My skin is not that bad, but I swear that the iPhone 13 Pro just makes me look like I have acne at all times. But the reason that I wanted to do a very quick video is for anyone who's moving out to Australia at the moment, I feel like you should know this. There is a mad rental crisis. I got to Australia like 3.5 weeks ago now, and I've only just realised it because I was travelling around, enjoying my life, living my best life. Now I'm trying to find an apartment in Sydney. It is impossible. People, we applied for...
Oh, living your best life, famous last words.
Release the other day when we didn't even see the place because we're currently in Western Australia, but we really liked it and we were like, you know what, let's just apply for it. There were 20 other applicants. They didn't go with us, obviously, because I think we just offered what they were asking for. People are literally outbidding themselves. I have secured a 6-week accommodation starting from the 1st of November, so I'm going to be homeless until then. But anyway, so I secured this for $550, and I only got it because the guy was nice enough to go with me because I messaged first. He was like, it's crazy, I'm literally getting offers for $650. People are just, for a small 1-bed apartment, it's not worth, basically, it's worth $550, but it's not worth $650, $700. So yeah, just a friendly warning, you might want to just look into some hostels, and Airbnb are probably making a killing right now. So I think that's what I'm going to have to do for 2 weeks until the 1st of November. We're going to have to just get an Airbnb somewhere out west, out of the city, and then travelling every day for work. I just want to find a nice home.
A nice home in a prime location at an affordable price, not going to happen. I'll ask Elbow. Ask Elbow how all that immigration is going. Nah, there's no impact, G-Man, you're racist. There's no impact on rental availability due to immigrants coming in. Okay. No worries. Then again, Airbnb is a big problem. But can you really blame people who can make more money out of, I guess, their investment? And I know people hate to have houses referred to as investments because people need a place to live. But put yourself in somebody's shoes who might have an investment home. If you can make double the rent, you probably would. But that is a problem because people are putting their houses on the short stay market. Once again, pushing up rents due to lack of availability.
Rent is going up $700 per fortnight, and yes, I have tried to negotiate. I said, just confirming that you're wanting to increase the rent by a total of $700 per fortnight. That's a considerable and confronting increase for a 3-bedroom house, shaking out to be an extra $230 per room. We'd love to come to a solution that reflects both the current market and the current financial pressure that inflation is having on us tenants. We are hoping this is negotiable and that you can revise the offer. Real estate agent wrote back. She said, I can try and negotiate with the landlord, but what are you proposing as a counter offer? Then she said, please note that the rental market is strong at the moment and we would be able to achieve the increased amount should the property be re-advertised at the moment.
True. And you're getting a rent increase that big, that's in my honest opinion, that's an eviction notice. That's a way to get people out. So that's what a lot of tenants will do. A lot of landlords will do, especially if a tenant is being difficult, I'll put it in quotes, or has caused damage or hasn't taken responsibility for something, or there's some sort of dispute, they'll just jack the rent right up. Won't be able to afford it. They won't be able to, or they won't be wanting to, like these people, negotiate. Pack your bags, unfortunately.
Kind of feels like a warning, no? I wrote back and I showed her another 3-bedroom property that I found online in Redfern. I said that this one is nicer and has 3 bathrooms, whereas our place only has 2 bathrooms. That one was on the market for $2,300 per fortnight, but what our landlord wants was $2,600 a fortnight. And then I said, given those differences, we believe that $2,100 for our property is fair per fortnight. This is still a considerable increase of $200 a fortnight, but let me know if you have any other comparable options on the market. A little over an hour later, she comes back and she says, I've spoken to the landlord and unfortunately he was very stern about not negotiating the increase. The rent has been cheap for quite some time and we are confident that we could relet the property at the increased amount. Sorry I couldn't be a bearer of better news. Wouldn't she have known that?
Well, it's not really the real estate agents. So the property managers, they cop a lot of shit, but really they're just intermediaries at the end of the day. Landlord wants to raise the rent, you're going to do it. It's not her fault. She can try and manage both sides' expectations, but really, at the end of the day, the buck stops with the person who owns the property. But it does suck, getting a rental increase of that much. But it'll be interesting to know. And I'm not going to do a comparison and look at where the property was and all of that, but is it under market? Because a lot of people, I think this video is a little bit older, this is about a year old or so, that was when people were readjusting their rents after COVID, when the renters were able to secure, a lot of renters were able to secure, half rents because there was desperation. Interesting world we're living in though. Like, you think about it, you get a rental increase of that much, that's a lot of money.
I told my neighbour how much rent I was paying and she was that shocked. She thought I mistakenly told her the monthly rent instead of the weekly rent. And I said, no, it's definitely $800 a week. And that's what made me realise she'd been living in this building for 10 years, right? She thinks that $800 a month is a normal rate. Spoke to another neighbour. She was like, God, I can't imagine paying that.
Even 10 years ago, $800, that's 1992 prices. So I don't know how true this story is.
A week, I only pay $130 every few months. No wonder people in the older generation think that we are just shit with our money when they're so used to paying a couple of $100 every month or every few months. it would sure as
Doesn't mean because they're all paying that price back then that they're still paying it now. So something's not adding up to me in this story.
be so easy to buy homes if, oh my god, imagine not paying $800 a week, 40 grand a year in rent. Actually, imagine not having to pay that. Like, that's a deposit on a house in a year, just not paying that much rent.
I don't pay it then.
Damn. No wonder they think we spend all our money on fucking lattes and avocados.
While she's drinking a latte. But $800 for a Melbourne city apartment a week, that's extortionate. I don't know why you'd even want to live in those. $800 a week, you'll get a house a bit further out. You would.
Up and I realized for the first time that I'm actually short on rent, which, having lived out of home since 17, and I'm now 31, is a lot to process. I have never felt so defeated. But I feel like sometimes the hardest moments are what inspire the most growth. And this is a feeling that I never want to feel again in my life. One thing that I'm really proud of myself for is that I have been a single mom for the last 11 years with no family support. I've had nobody to fall back on. I've lived out of home and supported myself and worked the whole time. I don't have parents to call or live with. I don't have anyone who's got my back. It's always just been me and my son. So I'm really proud that it has been 11 years until I've gotten to this point. And I think we can all go and say, you know, the economy is shit and groceries have gone up and everything is just mental. But at the same time, I also feel like you can't just project what is happening.
At the end of the day, without knowing this person at all, probably a Labor voter, Greens voter.
In your problems. The
ones that are complaining in this video, I guarantee you they all voted Labor. Well, I can't really guarantee that, can I? But my gut feeling very strongly that I would have voted Labor. Another thing is people say, oh, you got women on here and you're picking on women. Go on TikTok and write Australian rent or Australian rental crisis. It's all women making videos. Dudes don't make them.
Have to take some kind of responsibility and accountability. I know that this is just a really rough patch for me right now, and I know that I'm going to get through it. I think it was just a complete shock to my system to wake up and find out that this is my reality. So yeah, for the next 2 weeks I'm going to be Uber driving to pay my rent, and I'm probably going to try to drive as much as I can to get some savings behind me too, because the small savings that I just built up, I am now going to have to use to make up the additional amount of rent that I'm short in. And this is because I was actually sick for a week, so I didn't work 30 hours, and I, as a result, didn't get paid the amount of money that I was expecting. And since I started a new job, I have no annual leave, and yeah, I have no sick leave. So that's where I'm currently at today. A
lot of people really struggling. You know, it's pretty tough. Pretty tough out there. This is the average punter. You know, living hand to mouth with money and all this inflation and costs to goods, services, utilities. I mean, she's probably one bad thing away from ending up on the street, which is not a great place to be, obviously. This is Australia. All right, halfway through, if you're enjoying the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate that. We're growing at a reasonably good rate. Let's keep it going. Let's get to 20K. Like, comment, and share. Watch the videos through as long as you'd like to. That's really what helps get the videos pushed out to a wider audience. And if you're liking this one, press the hype button. Cheers.
Australia's rental crisis isn't just bad, it's basically permanent. And no, that's not an exaggeration. According to Core Logic, Aussies are now paying a record chunk of their income just to keep a roof over their heads. Rents have exploded literally up to 50% since the pandemic, and developers are saying the pain has barely started. In fact, some developers have stated that this crisis could last another 15 years, even if the government
Not really a crisis then, is it? It's a permanent state, and in my opinion, it's just going to get worse. I get a lot of punters out there or put in the comments, it's going to crash, it can't go any higher, this can't keep going on. They're flooding hundreds of thousands of people in every year. That's why a lot of people have been up in arms about it. It's not about racism, it's about quality of life is being degrading very rapidly, especially over the last 5 years or so. Think about life pre-COVID, pre-COVID pandemic response. Think about how different, even just the vibe of life is in Australia to what it was then, night and day.
In and tries to fix it tomorrow, which, spoiler alert, they won't. And why? It's literally simple economics. Vacancy rates are around 1%. Construction is the lowest it has been in a decade, and population growth is off the charts. 188,000 new immigrants arrived in just the last 3 months.
Yeah.
International students and graduate visas are at a record
No, you're
high,
racist.
all while
You're
the
racist.
housing market is still crumbling. But here's the thing, this might not just be poor planning, this could be political. The Labor government has every incentive to keep immigration high. And why is that? It's because the biggest immigrant voting bloc, Indian Australians, overwhelmingly vote for the Labor Party. So don't expect Albo's government to moderate anything. They're not going to fix the rental crisis. They are literally fueling it. Because to them, immigration is a vote bank. But for you, it's skyrocketing rent, packed inspections, and no way out. This isn't just mismanagement, this is political choice. And unless we speak up, this rental crisis won't just continue, it will define a generation.
Well said. Well said. That was a really good post. Says it how it is. Should be more of it. Alrighty. More women going and looking at overpriced apartments.
I think my housemate and I might be the luckiest renters in Melbourne. We have just renewed the lease on our flat for the 3rd year in a row. I say lucky because when I signed for this place back in 2022, I was told we would only get 1 year because the owner actually wanted to move in. I found this video back on when I was viewing places, and this was when I was viewing this apartment, and I immediately fell in love with it. For this 2-bed, 2-bath back in 2022, it was $900 a week, which at the time seemed quite expensive, but we actually managed to get it for $850.
Well, because it is expensive.
A week when we first moved in. I was still told by Aussies that this place was expensive, but I knew a bargain when I saw one, and I came to Australia thinking about London rental prices, so I was like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. The rent has gone up, but it's only gone up to $975, which in this current market is honestly such a steal for what it is. This is a quick tour of my housemate's room. She does have the bigger bedroom, she's got more wardrobe space, and she has an
That's a bit weird. I mean, a bit of oversharing going on here. Now, $1,000 a week for a 2-bed, 2-bath apartment. That's extortionate. You can get a house. You literally get a house for that. 10 kilometres probably away from the city in Melbourne. You're going to live in some little shitty flat. What's with this oversharing? You know, I'm trying not to rip these people apart too much here, but I would not be very happy someone taking photos and video of my bedroom and putting it up on TikTok. What's going on here?
an ensuite with a bath, which I steal all the time. Our bathrooms, including the sinks, are just 100% marble. Stunning showers as well. Could you expect any less in an apartment like this? We even have a steam oven, and we have an entire separate utility room, which is so unheard of. There is so much space. Considering the fact we're also in the heart of South Yarra, this place could not be any more perfect. I love it so much. I am so appreciative every single day I wake up in this bedroom. Look at the sunrises I get to wake up to every single morning. I am very aware that this is not the reality of what most people can rent in Melbourne, so I am so grateful. But the fact that I'm just paying over maybe £1,000 a month to live here is another reason why I'd find it very difficult to move back to London. I think my housemate...
There you go. Living the dream. Good on her.
Do you guys prefer buying a house or renting one? I feel like millennials have always wanted to buy a house. Like that was always their goal, to be homeowners. But in 2024, like, have you seen the house prices? Looking online, I searched up the average home is $1.6 million. What do you mean 1.6? What do you mean? And do you know how much the average income is? 80K. The math isn't math.
You can get a house for way less than that. You can get a 3-bedroom unit. You can get a townhouse. You can get a house. It's just not going to be central location. You're just going to have to go out. Not every house is 1.6 million.
So now I'm just curious, like, Gen Z want to buy a house. Do they prefer renting? Like, I know renting is expensive, but buying a house plus potentially, most likely, paying
What's
interest.
this thing that these women do with making food and eating food on TikTok and talking? Is that why? So you keep people interested and you're going to bloody get a blender going while you're talking? How about just sitting there and saying your point?
Like, is it worth it? I know millennials used to complain saying like, oh my god, the house prices are so expensive. Like, oh my god, have you seen now? You at least had a chance. Like, you could have bought a house an hour away from the city and like you had a chance. Have you don't even want to know the prices freaking an hour plus away from the city. And I was reading online and apparently like Gen Z, they're facing the highest like prices of rent so far. They're facing the high mortgage rates. What's going to happen for me to be able to buy a home? I've always dreamed of like having my own house, like having, you know, a double-story house with like nice staircase and like a nice backyard. But it's like at this rate, I'm going to afford the garage. Maybe. Depends on the area. And like, I'm just thinking like, do I want to spend my whole life paying off one house? It just doesn't make sense. Like 1.6 million versus an 80K salary. How?
Well, you won't be getting the serviceability on 80K. That's it. So you don't have to worry about that. What's going on here?
Anyway, and then when you calculate like bills, petrol, don't even get me started with petrol. It's like, is it even worth it? Ooh, look at that. I feel like I should have made a bit more. Just pretend it was up here. Just like my salary. Pretend my salary is up here. Sorry, it's down here. So let me know in the comments, like, do you think...
it's tough out there. I wouldn't want to be... not even this generation. The next generation, they're going to get it. They're not buying anything. Or what they're going to pay for $1 million or $1.5 million, what would get people a house in this generation, they're going to be paying that on little apartments and tiny little townhouses 6 to a block.
Okay, so basically, I ended up homeless because in Sydney there's a housing rental crisis. A rental house, you know what I'm saying? Okay, and basically it's really hard to find a flat and it's really expensive, like really expensive. So the 2-bedroom apartment that I was at before, I was paying $824, and they put it up to about $900. So I was like, okay, see, I wouldn't want to fucking be here, and looked for a new place, and every place you go, there's like 20 people lined up out the door to go see this flat. So unless you apply within literally 5 seconds of the viewing and also offer more money, then you're not gonna get that flat, girl. When I say I'm homeless, obviously, like technically I don't have a home, you know, but I have people I can stay with, and I had multiple options kind of coming out of it, and so I'm fine, guys, don't worry. And what happened instead was last minute, I booked a trip to Canada with my best friend. So now we're gonna be going to Canada in a week. So what I'm gonna do is once I come back to Sydney after 2 weeks of being in Canada, it'll be like a 1 week into the new year, and then I'll look for a flat, and I reckon it'll be easier. We're hoping.
Good luck with that. No worries. So don't want to pay rent, but happy to go and drop a whole bunch of money on a 2-week trip to Canada. Do what you want, but end of the day, it's not very smart financial planning, is it? All right, more house hunting.
I've been trying to find a rental in Melbourne's housing crisis, and I finally have an update. If you're new here, I'm a single Brit living in Melbourne, looking to live alone for the very first time. But there is one huge problem. Melbourne's housing crisis is crazy, and as a single, self-employed foreigner, the odds were not in my favour. But I'm very happy to announce I finally got accepted, and not just on any place, but
what's going on with all these faces and shit she's doing? She's got Tourette's syndrome. That's what it looks like. I know she's trying to be fun for the camera and engaging, but it looks like she's she's got some sort of disability going on.
my dream apartment, which I'm going to show you in just a second. So if you've seen my other videos about this, it wasn't the one with all of the amenities. After a lot of thought and reading everyone's comments, I realized going over budget for a studio apartment wasn't the best idea. But the place I got accepted on is so much better. It's extremely spacious, great natural lighting, and it includes parking. Love that for me. So drum roll please, because this is my new home. I can't believe I'm actually saying that. It is fully unfurnished and I only have stuff for a bedroom as I've previously been in house shares. So I'm currently living without a fridge, without a washing machine, but we'll get there. Also, please let me know your favorite homeware stores or if you have any ideas on how to style the place. I have a Pinterest board, but apart from that, I'm a little bit clueless.
Hey everyone, here's my tits.
Excited, slightly overwhelmed, but honestly so grateful. And you know I'm going to share the whole process of decorating it up. So stay tuned.
I'm going to show you here. Here's me. Here's my massive jugs. Also, here's the house that I've been looking at.
So I live in Neutral Bay with my wife. We live in a 2-bedroom apartment and we pay $675 a week.
So my apartment in Manly that I live with 3 other people, it's $1,130 a week.
I live in Surrey Hills and I spend $700 in rent a week. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, terrace.
I rent in Cremorne Point in Sydney and we pay $720 a week for a 2-bedroom apartment.
So I rent in North Sydney, it's $740 a week, and we're 2 people, it's a 1-bedroom.
I'm renting with my partner. We pay $760 in Ashfield, and it's a 3-bedroom house with a little backyard.
Live in Balgowlah, live with one other person, so there's 2 of us, live in a 2-bedder, and I pay $625 a week.
So I live in Coogee with a housemate, and it is $660 per week for 2 bedrooms.
I live in Ashfield in West, and it's $408 a week for a 1-bedroom apartment. Balcony included, bathroom, separate lounge. Ground floor apartment, did get robbed once.
There you go. I'm not a Sydney guy, so I have no idea what any of those suburbs are. For those of you who are in the know, does that sound reasonable for rent?
Is another question I get asked all the time. How do you afford to live? How do you afford to do anything? How are you barista? Blah, blah, blah. So I'm just going to cover this all right now. So my starting wage when I started as a barista was $31 an hour Monday to Friday, $37 an hour on a Saturday, and $43 on a Sunday. And that was
That's all right. To make coffees.
Same in 2 cafes I worked at, one in Bondi, one in Noosa. And just bear in mind, this is variable as well, so I did actually get a pay rise in one of those jobs as well. My rent in Noosa was $300 a week. So on average, before tax, I was making $1,200 a week, give or take, when I was working full time. So even after tax, say I came out with $900, which I would usually end up with a little bit more. That gives me $600 a week to live off once I pay my rent. Now, I live a very expensive lifestyle and all I do in my spare time is go to the beach, so that is more than enough money. I'm very lucky and very privileged. I don't have many outgoings. I pay for a Spotify contract and I pay for my SIM card monthly, and they're pretty much
Seems to be doing all right on their wage. Let's move along. We want some rants here. We don't want common sense.
So about a month ago, I got an email from my landlord telling me that my rent was being increased, as is everyone's in the country at the moment. But it's going to $800 a week from $550 a week, which I feel like is a massive increase. Like $250 a week is a lot. I live, to put into context, in a 1-bedroom apartment in Sydney. I have no parking, I have no storage, and I'm paying $800 a week. Is this excessive? Is this even allowed? Is there any real estate people out there who can help me with this? Because, like, do I have any say in this? Do I just have to cop this? I'm literally going to be on my ass in like 4 weeks, homeless. Because, yeah, 800 is definitely out of my budget.
I'll say, you got to think about these numbers people are throwing around. It is ridiculous, you know. $800 a week, think about that, just to have a place over your head that's an apartment. It's not even a house. Joints cooked, keep bringing it in, keep flooding people in, and it's going to make it better, apparently. We need skills. Australia will be better off for it.
Guys, we're in the trenches. We are in the absolute bloody trenches of the Sydney rental scene. I'm only about 4 days in and I can't do it anymore. I tap out. An apartment last night, it was the fourth one that we've seen, and it was the only, like, we literally fell in love with it. All the other ones were, like, dire. And it was probably the mistake, but we were imagining a whole, like, oh, I'm going to do this here, we're going to do this here. Like, it had so much light. It was just chef's kiss. Application denied. And I don't know what they want from us. We've made a Canva presentation. We've put so much effort. We over-offered on the asking price. Not interested. Not interested, mate. Go to the streets. And I don't know if it's just like a bit of karma for the fact that, like, I don't know, not that I've had it, well, I kind of have had it easy. Like, my first 8 weeks living here completely rent-free. Like, just that just kind of landed in my lap. I got my job. Like, I obviously worked hard in the interviews and stuff, but I managed to get my job, which I know a lot of people on a working holiday visa, they really struggle. And now I just think this is like the Sydney gods that are like, nah, like, you need to have a bit of stress, and I'm stressed. Like, I actually just want to cry. Send help, send prayers. I just want to live somewhere half decent for $500 a week. Am I asking for too much?
Yeah, it's probably not going to happen if you saw the numbers that people have been quoting here. You think $400 or $500 a week would get you something? No, people come over to Australia without doing any research and they walk into the absolute dumpster fire that is the housing market over here. I don't envy any young person, or not, doesn't matter how young you are, any person who hasn't been able to get their own place, and that has its own issues, paying debt for 30 years. I feel bad. I really do. I think this country, the quality of living has gone right downhill. You've got people on middle of the band, you know, middle class incomes really battling to even get a house. I know people out there with 2 incomes. Middle class, 2 incomes, $250K, probably joint salary. That sounds like a lot of money, doesn't it? That sounds pretty good. That should get you something. Not really. Not really. Let's watch one more long line coming out of Perth, because I had a couple of longer ones, but we're already over 30 minutes, so I don't want to drag this on. Look at that. It isn't even that bad. It's not as bad as that first one we had going. All right, you know what? I'm gonna put this one on. We'll play this one. We'll hear a rant, and then that'll be it. I won't stop it.
I don't even know what's happening with these rental prices in Sydney right now. Like, I can't even. My partner and I have good jobs. We've rented for 5 years. We pay all our bills on time. We've gotten all our bonds back. We have an investment property where we make money off. We have savings. I actually don't know who is a better applicant than us. And I've been to 16 inspections and handed in 11 applications. And we've been denied for all of them. The inspections are in the middle of the day during the week, so I've had to take off work or moved clients around 16 times to try and find somewhere to live. And I've realized now they're doing it so when you apply, you have to it says like how much per week, and I've just been putting like how much it says online. I have to put in my highest bid, and it's whoever's bidding the highest at this point. Or they're taking cash. These real estate agents are taking cash on the down low, so I found out, to put the application through to the landlord first. Like, I will refuse to pay $1 more than what you're asking for already. Like, I'm looking at 2-bedroom apartments for $750, and you have the audacity to ask me what my highest offering bid is. Like, sorry? Half these inspections I've turned up to, I've asked them, what is this? And they said, what are you talking about? I said, the kitchen on the real estate app has an island bench. This isn't even the kitchen it's on the app. Like, the shower, I feel like I need to wear thongs in my own shower, like, if I ever move in here, because it's that disgusting. Like, the audacity. And I have just got another message today saying that we are unsuccessful, when I've got my partner's manager to call them and say, like, you know, just, I've done everything in my power to try and push this rental application through, but we have to literally offer on the down low more than what they're already asking for, and the prices are through the roof. There's 30 people at the inspections on a Wednesday at 12 o'clock in the middle of the day. Like, everyone is taking time off work. What do I do? I don't know what to do anymore. I can't do another application. I literally want to peg my phone at the wall. These apartments aren't even nice anymore. They're just pieces of shit for $800 a week. Like, that is so much money.
Good rant. Good rant. All right. Maybe go move back into your investment property. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your day. And thanks for those of you who made it to the end. Cheers.